Hello, everyone out there. Finally live. Sorry about that. Running a few minutes late. Good seeing everyone that's early in the live chat. Hey, Chris. Hey, Cat Daddy. I think I missed you last week. Mulleteer, of course, Squeezer, Hell Squeezer. Thanks for keeping me updated on Riley Strain. And I was going to mention uh, the update with Riley Strain. Of course, he's the college student that was found deceased after falling in the river in Nashville, Tennessee. Of course, he was out at a nightclub with his fraternity brothers and was thrown out of the nightclub. And he was supposed to go back to his hotel, but he wound up going the direction of the river, and unfortunately wound up falling in the river somehow. And they found his body days later, a little further downstream, and they had gotten back the toxicology results, and they just simply found that there was no drugs in the system other than, I think they said, he had a legal form of THC that you could buy in Tennessee. I don't know what it goes by, a certain name. I don't recall what it was. And that, of course, he was heavily intoxicated, according to that toxicology report. So, terrible tragedy, but that one, it doesn't look like there was any kind of foul play or anything like that. It was kind of mysterious because there is a video clip of Riley Strain talking to a police officer after he leaves the club, and he says, "How are you doing?" And he said, "Hey, I'm fine. How are you?" Real polite, and he seemed to have it totally together. But then some other clips of Riley emerged where he's clearly stumbling around and clearly very intoxicated. So unfortunately, this was probably just a case of excessive over drinking at the club. And I think Julius also told me that there going to be no charges against the nightclub. Of course, I'd still be surprised if Riley Strain's parents don't at least try to bring a civil suit against the nightclub for something maybe that they didn't escort him. Of course, that kind of the liability there kind of falls back on his fraternity brothers that did not see him safe back to the hotel room, and he just leaves on his own and unfortunately goes the opposite direction, finds the water. It is strange how so many of these guys that are either found deceased or go missing are always around these bodies of water. And I don't know what the fascination is, or it was just bad luck that he was in a place that had a river. I mean, what if that river wasn't there? Does he keep walking into the night, eventually sobers up, or finds a Uber, or somebody helps him get back to his hotel, or something like that? But in this case, it looks like just a complete tragedy of someone that was over drinking with his pals. And you know how they start out, they start drinking at home or at their hotel, and they drink the cheaper beers or whatever they do at home, and then they get to the club and they really start hitting. Hey, Darnell, haven't seen you in a couple weeks. Hope you're doing well. I've seen some of your posts, so I knew you were out there. Yes, that is true. I agree with this 100%. They're always three sheets to the wind, and they always manage to find the water. What is the deal with that? I don't understand. They always manage to find the water no matter where it is. I wonder if that could be the same case with Brian Schaefer that went missing in Columbus, Ohio. Of course, he was at the bar, the Ugly Tuna Saloona, and he was never found, and he's not seen on the surveillance video. But there's lots of theories that he may have found the water too. I can't remember the name of the river, of course. It goes through Columbus, or how to pronounce it, but all hell squeezer. But yes, alcohol is the most dangerous drug. I mean, if he was just smoking marijuana, is he going to find the water? Is he going to go in the water? Hey, Tony, how are you? Um, I don't know. It's a strange one, but yeah, they always manage to find the water. What's the deal with that? I don't understand it. The alcohol is, it's. I think it's reaching the levels of an epidemic. They're worried about the opiate crisis, but they're not doing anything about excessive alcohol consumption at college campuses and these places. I mean, I know these guys are adults already. They're over, their legal drinking age. I think Riley was 21, or I think he was in his final year of college. Maybe he was 22. I don't know. Hey, Jen. But it's such a culture of that over drinking, especially when they go to something special like this was what they were doing there in Nashville, and just drink to oblivion. And that explains why he got kicked out. He was just so drunk. It was obvious to the people working at the bar that he was at, and that he had to go. But I don't think that's the the responsibility of the bar to make sure that he gets in an Uber and finds his way back to his hotel. I, you know, they probably deal with that so many times. What are they going to do? But I mean, maybe they should, especially. But I don't think they were the ones that served him all that alcohol. I think he'd come from another bar, and they weren't even the ones that served him that much. Of course, we're going to talk about Daniel Robinson tonight. One of my top cases that I like to follow, and it's one that has a ton of mystery to it. But I wanted to mention this, and this is a high school football captain. He was the prom king. His name was Aiden Beeson. No direct relation to me, but obviously the name caught my attention because we're all related down the line somewhere. So he is a distant cousin. But I thought this was just a horrible, horrible tragedy. My other sister, not Jennifer, Julie, actually sent me the story because obviously she saw the name, and it's just a horrible tragedy. It says Iowa prom king 17 drowns in lake weeks after graduating. A recent high school grad and prom king tragically drowned in an Iowa lake Wednesday. Aiden Beeson vanished beneath the surface of Rathburn Lake in Centerville more than an hour before rescue teams found his body, officials said. The 17-year-old swimmer went underwater and has not resurfaced. I think he was in 15 feet of water. It might say that here. Yeah, here it is. The boy's body was found at 7:33 p.m. in 15 to 20 feet of water. He was pronounced dead at the scene. While police did not identify the teen, Centerville Community Schools confirmed it was Beeson, who was crowned prom king before graduating from Centerville High School in May. So he's only been out of school a short time. Despite achieving quintessential high school popularity, the football and tennis player was well known in the community as a genuinely kind person who treated every student and staff member with respect. On top of being a great athlete, his best quality was him just being him. Beeson's tennis coach, Tyler Blaze, wrote on Facebook. Aiden was the kid every teacher and coach loves. He was such a kind and compassionate kid, and he gave you everything he had in the classroom and field/court. I am thankful for getting the opportunity to know such a person. Centerville High School reopened its doors this week to offer counseling to grieving friends, and dozens gathered at the football field where the teenager once played for a prayer vigil. This school district also shared an emblem in its social media channels by reading "Be like Beeson, number 20" in reference to his jersey number. The circumstances surrounding his drowning are still under investigation. So obviously this guy was an athlete. He knew how to swim. He was in 15 to 20 feet of water. And I know you can drown in up to like 5 or 6 feet of water. I don't know if there was more people in the water when he drowned. I don't know. Look at the helmet there with the 20 on it. It's awful. And of course, I feel a connection to him sharing the name, but I'm going to follow up. I just don't know how this happened. I don't know if there was drinking involved or anything like that. I guess it just hasn't been released. But if there's a lot of people in the water, I can kind of see that. I went to summer camp once, way back when, and they were in this designated part of the lake, but it was surrounded by this decking, this wood decking, but it was like these sections of rectangle where you could swim, and we were playing water polo, where you try to get the ball into the water and get it to the other side for a goal or whatever. And there was just so many of us guys in the water playing, and I'm a decent swimmer, but I got caught under all the guys, and you couldn't come up because it's all these flailing legs and feet of everybody playing this game. And there were so many in this confined area that I thought I was never going to get up. I thought I was going to drown because there was no way for me to come up and get air. But finally I saw a break in it after being under for like 2 minutes and got up and could breathe again with all this thrashing around when they were playing this game. So maybe something like that. I don't know, but this is just really, really strange. This is a good point. Maybe he did get hypothermic. If you jump into our little Applegate River here in Southern Oregon on a 100-degree day, you'll get cold shock, even hypothermia if you're dumb. I think this guy was from the area, so you think he would have known that if it was something where you could get instant hypothermia like that. But I don't know. I know someone made a 911 call about this, and they didn't give much details, but it's tragic. But I'm definitely going to stay on top of this one to see where I don't know. It's just devastating. Condolences and prayers go out to his family. It's just awful what happened to this guy. So back to the main part of the show. I want to talk about, of course, the disappearance of Daniel Robinson. He was a geologist, and I know most of you have already heard of this case, so I want to know what everybody thinks about it, and I'll probably run a poll on the community section, like I've been doing. And if everybody wants to know the update on the one that we ran from the previous show I did with Ross, that I can't remember the results, but people mainly believe that the Zodiac was responsible for the Gaviota Beach murders of Bobby Dominguez and Linda Edwards, the high school sweethearts that were murdered on their senior skip day from Lompoc High School. So that was maybe after that press release, people really started believing this is a Zodiac crime, which is interesting. And I know Ross is a big believer. Obviously, you saw Ross on the show. If you missed that, go back and check the live from last week. But in that poll, I think Zodiac was definitely in the lead over the never identified Sandy, or just a random beach bum, or just somebody that had known the beach had killed them. But people are really starting to think that's Zodiac. Somebody asked me if I had heard of that press release before, and if I did, I'd forgotten about it. I always refer to Ross for all the non-canonical Zodiac crimes. And one thing I suggested to Ross was that he should check all the dates of the non-canonical Zodiac crimes against important dates from the Apollo missions, which is something Michael Sudduth had pointed out to me about some of the important dates of Zodiac lining up with some of the Apollo missions. Of course, there's a lot of dates in the Apollo missions because it spanned many years, but some of the top dates, like I think the initial Apollo launch, the first one was September 27th. Of course, that's the date that of the Lake Berryessa attack. So that's one thing I think Ross is going to check out and see if there's any connection there. Yeah, I agree. It has shades of Zodiac before, and just the way that press release was written, how it says we're not just trying to latch onto the Zodiac case to get this more attention, but from the things that they had seen lead them to think it could have been Zodiac. Yeah, Sebastian Rogers case. I haven't been keeping up with that one much. I know the biological father of Sebastian thought that one of the photos that appeared was of his son, but there's so much suspicion on the stepfather for being involved in this that you can't really dismiss it. I definitely. Yeah, Peter Hyde does good work, Patty. He does great work. If you can find that link, Patty, put it in the live chat. If you could find the link to the Peter Hyatt YouTube show that covers that disappearance of Sebastian Rogers, sorry, not Rogers. Easy to get lost in Tennessee. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff getting lost, but this case is going to be someone getting lost in Arizona. Of course, geologist Daniel Robinson. Let me go back here. There's a picture of Daniel, and here's the basics. He was 24 years old. He was 5'8" in height. He's been missing for 3 years now. He disappeared on June 23rd, 2021. So we just passed the anniversary, I think the 3-year anniversary of the disappearance of Daniel Robinson. This is him in the middle, him on the right. That's him on the left with his father that's been really active in trying to find his son. And we'll talk about him some more too. But he's from South Carolina. He went to college in Charleston, South Carolina. He's originally from Columbia, South Carolina, where he grew up. He was born with a birth defect where he's missing a part of his arm from here down to his hand. So he just doesn't have a hand on his right arm, but he never let it slow him down. He was born that way, so he's used to it. So he was kind of overcame that handicap just by force of will, and he didn't let it slow him down. So I want to read it from this one article to give some of the basics on the case, and then we'll go over the timeline. But this is another case of a young man in the prime of his life. These guys are either in college like Riley Strain, or they're just out of college like this gentleman was. So they're always that same age, just like Jason Landry. And I'm going to draw a lot of parallels between this disappearance and Jason Landry, which is something that I've really been wanting to focus on lately, is all the similarities between the Jason Landry disappearance and Daniel Robinson. So here's an overview of the case. Buckeye, Arizona, disappearance of Daniel Robinson reported missing June 23rd, 2021. Detectives investigated leads developed throughout the investigation and tips reported to the department at this time. Foul play is not suspected. Let me give some more basic detail before that's actually the timeline I'm going to get into. Daniel Robinson, age 24, last seen leaving a job site in Buckeye, Arizona, near Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road on June 23rd, 2021, around 9:15 a.m. in his 2017 blue-gray Jeep Renegade headed west towards the desert and reported missing later that day. Daniel Robinson was born without his lower right arm, but was still active in athletics. He graduated from the College of Charleston in 2017 with an undergraduate degree in geology. After graduation, he located to Arizona, where he found work as a hydrogeologist. Robinson is described by investigators and family as a 5'8" African American man who weighed 165 pounds at the time of his disappearance. He has black hair and brown eyes and is missing part of his right forearm, including his hand. Daniel Robinson lived in Tempe, Arizona, but worked for the engineering company Matrix New World in the far West Valley. Robinson was last seen leaving his job site in Buckeye, Arizona on June 23rd, 2021 by a coworker he had just met that day, where he was working as a geologist. He had moved into the Phoenix area after graduating as a field geologist in 2019. So he'd been in Arizona a couple of years. On July 19, 2021, a rancher found the Jeep rolled over on its side in a ravine on his property with the airbags deployed and evidence in the vehicle indicating that the driver was wearing a seatbelt at the time of the crash. Several personal items of Robinson's were found inside the vehicle, including his cell phone, wallet, keys, and clothes. They found the clothes scattered everywhere. They had found a skull out there in the area where he went missing, and they tested it. It turned out not to be Daniel's. Statement was made September 16, 2021, that they were working with outside agencies, and they searched over 70 square miles looking for Daniel. They used drones, of course. They used helicopters. Here's a picture of Daniel's Jeep Renegade right there, and we'll talk about the expert analysis of a detective that was hired by Daniel's father to find more information about the Jeep, because that's the most mysterious part of this, is what they found out about his car after they found it. And this is, of course, one of the flyers out there that and there's a link to the main site put up by Daniel's father to try to find him. And there's a bunch of flyers like this that are trying to apply more pressure on the Buckeye, Arizona Police Department to fulfill their responsibilities and keeping this investigation open and active, because they have not found Daniel. They have not found his remains. His father's been out there searching this area with a lot of volunteers on a lot of different trips to the area where he went missing. And they have found bones of, like I mentioned before, the skull turned out not to be his. And then I think his father later found some other remains that also turned out to not be that of his missing son. Here's a map. It's kind of hard to see where I think this is Buckeye up at the top, and this is the red X with the circle. There is the job site, and down here, not too far away, is where they eventually found his vehicle. It says, after the discovery of the Jeep, Robinson's family hired Jeff McGrath, an accident reconstructionist and private investigator. They found it. I think they found the Jeep. I'll have to find the date, about 3 weeks or so after Daniel went missing. It says, after the discovery of the Jeep, Robinson's family hired Jeff McGrath, an accident reconstructionist and private investigator for 3 Laws Recon. McGrath suggested that the accident scene had been staged. He said that after the airbag had been deployed, the ignition was turned over 46 times, and that there was an additional 11 miles on the car that registered after the car crash. And McGrath apparently did this by plugging something into the Jeep's computer and getting this data out. He's an expert at doing that. He said McGrath also noted there was red paint on Robinson's Jeep that had been transferred from another vehicle, which suggests a collision uh, prior to when the Jeep came to rest in a ravine, because that's where they found Daniel's Jeep, was in a ravine. The man who found Daniel's Jeep, who actually owned the property where it was found, said that that Jeep had not been there in the weeks prior, just after Daniel's disappearance. So it's not like the Jeep was there just a day or 2 days after Daniel disappears. He said it wasn't there for at least 2 weeks because he knew his property that well and he would have known if it was in that ravine. So where was Daniel? Where was this Jeep? I mean, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered in this case. So there's the Jeep. That's an actual picture of Daniel's Jeep laying in the ravine. He leaves behind his wallet, his cell phone are still with the car. Very similar to Jason Landry's disappearance, where his car was wrecked and he leaves all his personal stuff behind. Some of Daniel's clothes were strewn around. I mean, he was going to work and he came from his house. He wasn't planning to spend the night out there. So I don't know. I believe there was just the clothes that he may have been wearing. So I don't know what caused that, or like the detective he thinks this scene was staged. There's many theories of what could have happened to him. Maybe there is some foul play and the people drove the car for a while trying to figure out what they were going to do with it. So they wind up ditching it in this ravine and trying to stage that, make it look like Daniel just left the car and then he goes out into the hot desert and suffers from heat stroke, and he starts because I heard you could do that really easily in this part of Arizona. You can get heat stroke and not even realize it's coming on you, and you could start losing your ability to think straight. And I've done that lately in Houston. Lord knows, being out in this heat and on roofs and stuff, how quickly that stuff can come on you, and you literally cannot think straight after you've been in that heat. Even if you think you can handle it and you're well hydrated, it'll still start really getting to you. So was this staged to cover up foul play? And this is stemming from Daniel was acting strange I think I would be comfortable with saying the weeks before he disappeared. He was working as a geologist, like I mentioned, but he was also working for Uber Eats to make some extra money. And he delivered some food to a girl's house, and she was there with I think another girlfriend, and they had been drinking some. And the girl showed a little interest in Daniel when he delivered their food, and they invited him in. I think he had a few drinks and got to know her, and she kind of flirted with him a little bit and got his phone number, and I think he got her phone number. And he apparently became really infatuated with this woman that he met by the Uber Eats deal. So he called her days later, and she had kind of not shown any more interest in him, and he wound up going by her house unannounced and knocking on the door, trying to talk to her, and that kind of scared her. And she said, "Hey, there's nothing really here. Don't bother me anymore." And that he just couldn't give up on it. And so there's theories out there that maybe this girl that Daniel had an interest in had a boyfriend that wanted to do Daniel harm because he wasn't backing off of this thing with her, and he acted like they were already kind of dating just off of that one encounter where she was really nice to him. So it's just one of the theories out there that could have happened in this case. But the Jeep is strange. The person that Daniel's father hired that we're talking about found out more about the vehicle than the police knew. The police apparently in this case didn't seem to really put a whole lot of value in what he had found about the Jeep being started that many times and the airbags being deployed before it winds up there. And he said that the miles were put on the Jeep after the airbags were deployed. So I'm like thinking about that. How could you drive that Jeep with the airbag deployed to put the extra miles on it? I think it was 11 extra miles. How would you drive it with the airbag still deployed? Would you push it aside? I don't know how you would drive it without being able to see with that airbag still deployed. I mean, I think after the airbag's deployed, the air in it will eventually go out, but it's still like that loose bag that the air was in. So I don't really know. Maybe you can push it to the side. I don't know. It's just one of the things I thought about, but really strange. Like I said, McGrath stated that the accident scene had been staged. He stated that after the airbags deployed, the ignition turned over 46 more times. I mean, so how many times are you going to try to start the car before you give up on it? But he said it was turned over 46 more times. That's amazing. And that there was an additional 11 miles, like I said, on the car that registered after the car crashed. And that means the initial crash that caused the airbag to come out. McGrath also noted there was red paint on it, suggesting it hit another car. Again, the rancher who found the car had been in the area on July 17, 2021, as he searched for his cattle, but he asserted that Robinson's car was not in the ravine until he returned on July 19th, 2021. Thus, Robinson's family doesn't believe Daniel's car was in the ravine for 30 days since the time of his disappearance. They found the car 30 days after. I think I said 3 weeks. Sorry about that. It was about 4 weeks, about a full month after he disappeared is when they found the car in the ravine, which is that picture there. I think I've got another one. There's the map. Let me get this back up. Don't want to forget Corky. Going backwards here. I think let me use my mouse. There's another. This is another picture of the vehicle on its side, turned over on its side. You can see the airbag is out. There's some clothes up here. I think these were items of Daniel's strewn about the car, which could have been somebody staging this and making it look like an accident. But that man was sure that that car was not there directly after the disappearance. And going back to the map, you can see how close. See, here's the job site. The job site is the top red pin. That's the job site. There's the main road right here to the right and down a little bit. And then to the left, just down, not very far at all, it says Jeep found here July 19th, 2024. I'm not sure what it says under that, but that is close. So if something happened quickly after he left the job site, where did he go after he left the job site that the Jeep winds up back and almost the same area days later? It's just something is strange going on here. That's what makes this such an interesting missing 411 case. It isn't cut and dry like Riley Strain. There's questions here that have not been answered that need to be answered. Where was this Jeep after Daniel left? I mean, from what I know, he showed up to the job site, met this coworker that he never met before, and they spoke for about 15 minutes or so, and then Daniel left, and he was apparently supposed to be at this site all day. But according to this person, his coworker that he had just met, he said that he didn't seem like there was something wrong with him mentally or whatever, because that's one of the theories of this, is that Daniel was having some kind of mental break, maybe over things not going right with that girl he met, which was really strange that he would have built so much out of that just on that one meeting of delivering her that food that one night. But they said that his apartment was in really bad disarray. He had clothes everywhere, dishes were piled up, and his family said he wasn't like that maybe something else psychologically was going on with him. But that still doesn't explain how he shows up to the job site, talks to the coworker for 15, 20 minutes or so, and then he leaves when he's supposed to be out there, I think, for at least half a day. And where does he go? Does he go back home and then he decides to come back to work and then decides to stage his own disappearance and he's suicidal? I don't know. If you're going to commit suicide, wouldn't he want to leave a note for his family? And he was typically known for keeping up with his family. It's just one of the strange things about this case is how the Jeep winds up so close back to the original job site, and that the landowner says there's no way that Jeep was there that day. In fact, it couldn't have been there about 2 weeks after, that it somehow shows up 3 weeks later in that ravine, and then it's found 4 weeks after the initial disappearance. Yeah, a lot of people think that he stuck his nose into something he shouldn't have. One of the theories is that he stumbled upon something at that job site, and from what I read, I don't know if this is true, but they were going to develop it into some kind of development or something like housing, which I don't know. I mean, it's in the middle of the desert, but I think in all of Arizona in the desert, I don't know, Phoenix, Tucson, but that he may have found something there at that job site that if he reported, they couldn't have built there. and that it was the owners of the company that didn't want that information getting out because they were going to sell the land, blah, blah, blah. So that's one of the theories. Of course, another theory is it was somebody that may have been dating that girl he was interested in. He went back off and they had a reason to get rid of Daniel. And then the third theory is he just had a mental break and he was suicidal. So, the suicidal one just doesn't add up for the fact that he's gone for all those days. He's not seen at all after he leaves the job site that day. But who's got his Jeep? Yeah, this one's fascinating, Tony. It's just, I don't know. I don't think there's anything on the phone. I think it was either turned off or it wasn't reporting, but they did not get, to my knowledge, he did not get any GPS information off the phone that he left in his Jeep that day, which further points you to the fact that something else is strange going on here with his disappearance. After the disappearance, someone went into Daniel Robinson's apartment in Tempe, ransacked his closet, and accessed his laptop. That's interesting. It doesn't get talked about a lot. Robinson's family convinced the Tempe Police Department to do forensics works on all of Daniel's electronics, including his personal computer and gaming system. The result of that forensics works indicated that someone had been looking at Daniel's search history and just fooling around. I think I lost the bottom part of this. Said Robinson had been texting the woman he met while delivering for Instacart. Sorry, I think I said Uber Eats. It was actually Instacart. And reportedly was invited inside, exchanged numbers with her. Later, text messages showed that he visited her home several times unannounced, and the woman indicated that she was extremely uncomfortable with his actions. Police initially interviewed friends, family, and coworkers about Robinson being suicidal over the situation, but told all investigators that he was not. It was announced on November 9th, 2021, that a second set of human remains have been discovered while searching for Robinson, and he had been sent out for DNA testing and identification. The preliminary investigation, based on anthropological indication of race and the amount of time outside, has led officials to believe neither set of remains to be Robinson. Daniel Robinson has not been found, and his disappearance continues to remain a mystery. So there you have the main three things. Could have been a cover up of something he found at the job site. Could it have been some other foul play? Could it have been someone that knew the girl because he was really aggressive trying to date her? Could it have been a suicide? Those are one of the main three things. And I'll do a survey on the community section after this video and let everybody vote on what they think happened to Daniel, and definitely encourage more reading on it. So I definitely want to go over the timeline, but here's some of the different messages that people write online about. Of course, there's a Reddit thread that's pretty active still about this case. It says, "This is an odd story. I spend most of my time working in the deserts of Arizona. It's really easy to die out there and never be found. If he wandered a half a mile from the crash site, his body could lay undiscovered forever, even if there was a thorough search." I've read that a lot about this area. "Parents and friends are naturally going to call foul play. The police are blanking idiots who solve less than 50% of all homicide cases and virtually zero missing persons cases. 99.9% chance he's in the desert near where his vehicle was found." You see that one a lot in this case. The person said, "If you crash in the desert, would you leave your cell phone behind? That's pretty suspect itself. I think that woman he was stalking had someone kill him." This person says, "The activity in his apartment." I agree. The activity in his apartment is the most, hair-raising thing going on here. Activity in his apartment and blanking with his computer is what pushes me to believe. I forgot to edit that one word, that there is shit going on here. Yes. How can the police not see that as suspicious? Did he have roommates? No, he didn't. Why would someone be in his house, let alone searching his search history? And then again, there's the comment about the the rancher who found Daniel's Jeep. So I don't know. What do you guys think? This is a really strange deal. I think that I agree, his apartment being searched makes no sense. Who would have done that? Why were they looking at it? Why was the apartment in such disarray? Was somebody else living at his apartment? How does he wind up back so close? I mean, whoever, if Daniel didn't put it there himself, who put his Jeep there? And did they do it to be found? You think, why would they do that? If it was foul play, and let's say Daniel has already been killed, who would get in his Jeep just to drop it off back there? I guess they had to get rid of the car and they wanted to stage it, making it look like he had just wandered out into the desert and died. You think if they had that vehicle, they would be running a risk, crashing it again like that in that ravine. What if the person that owned the land saw them do it, saw people fleeing the vehicle? It sounds like they'd be running a risk of getting caught doing that. But I guess stranger things have happened. But this is a really, really weird case. And there's so many parallels with this one and the disappearance of Jason Landry, who disappeared in Texas a few years ago. I think it was about 3 or so years ago. He goes missing from his college in San Marcos, Texas State University. He drives about an hour or so. He's going home for the Christmas holiday. This was in December. And he goes through a little town called Luling, Texas. And they find his car that had been wrecked. It's kind of similar to Daniel's. I don't recall if the airbag had deployed, but the car had been wrecked. They found Jason's cell phone. And just like Daniel Robinson, they found clothes strewn about the area right outside his vehicle and up the road a certain ways. I don't know, maybe a quarter of a mile or so. There was, he had a lot of clothes with him because he was going back home for the Christmas holiday. So I think he had quite a few clothes with him, but more than just what he was wearing was laying out. It wasn't hot and it wasn't cold enough to get hypothermia for Jason. And very similar, car wrecked. They were of similar age. I think he had one more year of college left. Jason did. Of course, Daniel was out of college, but found all this stuff, leaves the cell phone behind, and then clothes are strewn about the vehicle. And of course, Jason Landry has never been found. Daniel's never been found. What is going on with these guys? And they always report that there's this odd behavior before they actually go missing, similar to Terrence Woods I talk about a lot, who went missing in Idaho. That was part of the Gold Rush TV show. That I talk about that case a lot. That's one of my top cases. Probably these three: Jason Landry, this one, and Terrence Woods Jr. And how something comes over them in the days before they go missing. Because from what I know, that even the way that Daniel was acting over this girl is not normal for him. I don't know what his dating history was, but he, according to his family, this is just something that wasn't like him to be going after a female like that was obviously not really reciprocating on the attention and didn't seem as interested in him as he was her. What is going on with these cases? These guys are young, whole lives ahead of them. It just makes zero sense. Yeah, I've seen that too. It said the 11 miles aren't necessarily accurate according to crash investigators. Yeah, I think that's something that the detective is heavy on, and he says that I think the police that have studied the same computer information from the Jeep don't necessarily agree with the 11 miles that were put on the car. I don't know if they disputed any of the other stuff they found out, or maybe about how many times they tried to turn the car over as well. I think they dispute that as well, but I don't know. I'd love to interview the guy. Maybe I'll try to get him on. Cell service at rollover site. That's a good question. Don't know if they had it out there or not, or if they had it at the time that he disappeared. Yeah, it could have been. That's a good point. Like Chinatown scenario or California water rights. Very true. Maybe he stuck his nose into something he shouldn't have. I agree. I don't know if they did DNA testing around the vehicle. I'll find out. No blood for the accident. Seems odd. I don't think they did find any blood. Evil real estate developers. I don't know any of those in my life. Not one. Stalker that rubbed someone the wrong way. Could have been. It's one of them. If you're a hardcore environmentalist and he finds a rare animal or Indian burial site, he could have pissed off a developer. That's really that's really a popular scenario for this case. Buckeye was fastest growing city in America for a few years in a row. I didn't know that. I just thought it was a lot of desert. In Arizona, almost all crime have to do with drugs. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if he was into drugs or not, or if they could have been a Breaking Bad. Good point, Cat Daddy. Could have been a meth lab out there. How far was crash site from the road? Let's see if we can find it. There was a main road on that map. It's just called main road. Right here is that. I don't have a scale on here, but I think that's maybe a mile from the main road to where the Jeep was found. And I don't know if this is just like a ravine coming through here. That's pretty far off road. Highways in Buckeye going back here. I guess that's south, and this is pointing north. Main road, job site. So even getting to the job site, you're off road or a little bit, or however, dirt road that led up to the job site. And then I don't know what the terrain was like around there, but a lot of people think he may have found a cave of some sort and maybe was injured, crawled into the cave, or if he was suicidal, he goes into the cave and dies, and that animals would get to the bones or whatever, and you would never, ever find him at this point. And I think his father out there searching, who's been just really doing a great job of, he does a lot of videos. He's got a YouTube channel I follow a lot. He's been, spearheading this. He's not slowed down at all in the years since his son disappeared. He's ex-military. He's committed to trying to find his son, putting pressure on the police, getting volunteers to still gather and go look for Daniel. And I think his father has found human remains that fortunately did not turn out to be his son, but just doing all that searching, he's found more human remains than the police have found in this case. But it's a strange one. Is that true? The Saudi billionaires have been buying up a lot of Arizona alfalfa farms and water rights. Interesting. Freeway by Buckeye and I-10s runs east and west. Yeah, it is similar to Bryce Lapisha. That's another one I'll cover. I think I covered Bryce before on a shorter show. Same age, goes missing like that. I think they found Bryce Lapisha's car, and that was a strange one. But I agree. That's another one that is just like, I'm going to do like a matrix, kind of like David Paulides did his missing 411 comparisons, that what qualifies it for a missing 411 case. Bodies found in areas that were searched before. Well, that's kind of similar here, because they found his Jeep in an area that wasn't searched before, but they know it wasn't there before. But I want to do cases like Landry, this one, Terrence Woods, Bryce Lapisha, like you mentioned, some other ones, and see what they all have in common. Cars left behind, cars wrecked, left behind cell phone, clothes scattered about. What was the temperatures? Was it hot? Was it cold? Could you be hypothermic? Could you have heat stroke? And just see how many things are similar in all these different cases and how close the ages are. It's generally men that are young. It's generally young men in the 18 to 24 age range that are going missing like this. And that their most prevalent thing that I've seen is that something is going on with them mentally in either days or a few weeks before they disappear. And it's definitely seemed to be the case with Terrence Woods. Maybe with Jason Landry, we don't know. He was smoking marijuana and doing things, but not really out of the ordinary for him. But in Daniel Robinson's case, especially with the girl, he was acting not himself. So does that mean he was suicidal? His family doesn't think so, but they never do. Really, you don't want to ever really think that your loved one was suicidal, that you didn't know about it. But I've seen aliens come up on this one. Being in the Arizona desert, you had the Phoenix Lights. The Phoenix Lights was definitely something odd, and they never got to the bottom of that. And I remember how they downplayed it. What was it? The mayor of Phoenix came out for the press release dressed as an alien, which he took a lot of heat for. But Kurt Russell was flying a small plane or something, the actor, and saw the Phoenix Lights and it said, "Hey, I saw that stuff, and it was definitely out of this worldly happening with the Phoenix Lights." So I've seen the UFO scenario as one of the options for this disappearance for Daniel. So yeah, I'll be doing in the community section. I'll be doing a voting survey on the different scenarios. I think I can only do up to 4 with YouTube, but it'll be girlfriend foul play other than people that knew the girlfriend, suicide, or stumbled upon something like that. It'll be like those will be the main options. I don't know if I can get aliens in, but aliens could be an option. I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. According to Art Bell, weird things happen in the desert. Art would know, living in Pahrump. He was in the middle of the desert. That's true. A lot of strange things happen in the desert. I've been hearing a lot of stories from Joshua Tree. There's so many weird things, and like there's some kind of weird energy in Joshua Tree. It could be the same with all the national parks and why some of these people go missing, like Politis talks about. Yosemite being one, Mount Shasta having that energy, and then there's so many with Joshua Tree, and people being drawn to it, and then they go missing. And then some of these people are actually found. I listened to one. My buddy Steve Stockton just did a upload on his channel about people that went missing in Joshua Tree. And there's a lot of stories about people that are out there at night. They get lost. They don't have enough water, and they hallucinate at night, see all these weird things coming out of the rocks. And some make it, some don't. I think generally it will eventually in Joshua Tree find the remains. But from what I know about this area in Arizona where Daniel Robinson went missing, that there's so many places that he could have gone if he walks away. Let's say that the detective is wrong about the 11 miles and how many times the car was started, and that Daniel did it. And first, you got to explain why the guy didn't find it on his land, and why would Daniel be gone for that much time and then come back to be so close to where he eventually left his job site? Why would he, unless he never went that very far? But how long could he live out there? If even if he was just gone a week, he leaves the job site and where is he for a week? If he had to be, I think he had to be gone at least 2 weeks, because the landowner said there's no way that car was there that early. That's even if you don't buy into what the detective found out about the car, you have to explain why that landowner didn't see it earlier, unless the landowner's involved somehow. Maybe there's something going on there. Yeah, famous yearly gathering. Yeah, I saw that UFO bus in Joshua Tree, contact in the desert. Yeah, I think Jimmy Church was at that one. Even Art Bell's death is kind of weird. Yeah, I heard a bunch of Jaffe told me a bunch of stuff about Art Bell's death. It was really interesting. And I can't even remember all the weird stuff he told me. That I don't know if it's true or not, but it was all this maybe he was killed or murdered, or of course they said Art's death was drugs. Basically a drug overdose was what killed Art Bell, especially at Moonlight at the Oasis. Oh yeah, that was Art's favorite song. Midnight. It's midnight at the Oasis, right? Get that camel to bed. What was her name? 4 dirt bikers disappeared during the Phoenix Lights. I didn't know that. And later, only bone fragments were found. I'm going to look into that. Thanks for bringing that up. I've never heard that. The four dirt bikers disappearing during the Phoenix Lights. Hey, it could be UFO. I'm not ruling it out. No, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up at all. Put your camel to bed. Maria Muldaur. Yes, he loved that. It's Good Night from the Desert was It's Crystal Gale, right? The one he played at the end. That was that's the one he always played at the end. So maybe those were his two favorite, but yeah, I think that was his favorite, and then the one he played at the end of every show. So yeah, that's what I want to do. I'm going to compare all those cases that are so similar. Um, Maybe Stephen Kosher as well. I don't know if he fits into these like Jason Landry does and Daniel Robinson, but there's probably even more that are just something's going on with these guys before they disappear. They're all acting really strange in the days before they go missing. I mean, something was definitely going on with Daniel. Aaron Hedges, I've heard of that. I need to look it up again. It sounds familiar. I'll remember that name though. I'll look it up, Mark. There's a huge nuclear power plant very close. It's apparently one of the most protected areas in America, especially after 9/11. I didn't know that. That's it, Palo Verde nuclear plant. I've been way far from Mount Shasta where I could see it in the distance, but I haven't been close enough to feel the weird energy. Something weird happened to Tom Hewitt, Jackie Hewitt's brother from Yuba County 5. Uh, he got a really interesting, I don't know, I can't remember if it was a video or a picture of like things coming out of the mountain or something when he went through there, maybe like 8 or 9 months ago. I'll have to find that, but he thought it was really strange. This photo he got around Mount Shasta with these UFO looking things in the air. I'll have to go look that up or ask him about it. When you're in the desert at night, you don't shine flashlights around because you don't want anyone to know you're out there, either humans or space aliens. Yeah, I know that's one of the ways that they might see down there. Yeah, midnight in the desert is Crystal Gale's song. Yeah, it is Crystal Gale. They kind of sound similar. Her and Mulder. I can't remember what that stuff was. I thought about writing a book about Art Bell. Lots of weird stuff. Of course, just the uh the best episodes from Art Bell's show would either be Mel's Hole or the Area 51 plane. And then you got what, Bugs? Those are the top three. Mel's Hole, number one, especially when they threw the dog in the dead dog down Mel's Hole and it shot back out of the hole alive. And then the plane that was going through Area 51 and he called into Art's show and Art was talking him through it and he said the people were trying to pull him the other planes were trying to force him down or whatever. That's probably Mel's Hole number one. Number two is the Area 51, and then maybe Bugs, the guy that said he killed a Bigfoot. I know you don't like that, Patty, that terrible Bugs, but fortunately Bugs got found out to be a fraud. Bugs was a fraud. He said that he was out hunting. I think he was in Texas. I don't remember. And he said he had shot a Sasquatch because he was threatened by it or he was scared by it, and he thought he would go to prison because it was so like a human. So he wound up keeping the body and hiding it near his cabin or something over all those years. And he, told that story to Art. And of course, it sounded really believable. He's just like, hey, I didn't want to tell anybody. Of course, people were upset. Like, why'd you shoot that thing? The poor Sasquatch. And he said, well, it was scaring me. So I shot it. And I was afraid I would go to prison for killing the Sasquatch. But I don't remember how he got found out. But fortunately, he did not kill the Sasquatch. Good for the Sasquatches. There's high def photos of crazy alien like drone cruising the power lines. Wow. Also photographed near Reading. I have a buddy in Reading. I wonder if he ever heard of that. Yes, no Sasquatch was hurt. Of course, many believe one was killed, and people were upset. Remember, people were upset. They were calling in when Bugs was on the show, like, you're terrible for shooting that Sasquatch. You're a bad person. Shouldn't be many carnivores out there to eat the bodies. Maybe Wile E. Coyotes could be. These drone photos show no propellers or propulsions. I think that's what Tom Hewitt may have photographed. I'll try to go back and find Tom's picture, but it was right at Mount Shasta. Bug sounded really believable. I mean, so did the Mel's Hole people. Of course, Mel's Hole was never debunked, I don't think. I don't know if anyone ever tried to find it. I don't remember. I think they tried. I don't know where that is. I've never heard of that town. I've heard of Brandon Lawson. Yeah, they found him, didn't they? Like years later, didn't they find him? Like he was on some. I think he was close to. I don't know, maybe Midland, Odessa area. That's pretty far from me. That's like a really, really long drive. I'm near Houston. That's a good ways off. But yeah, I remember Brandon Lawson. I think they finally found his remains out there, and he made a phone call, and he was running from somebody. I think Brandon Lawson was thought somebody was chasing him, and he ran off into the desert, or like like Texas equivalent of the desert out there in West Texas. Madeline Brown sounded really, really believable. You listen to Madeline Brown, and I think it was an interview with somebody. It wasn't Alex Jones, but it was somebody for InfoWars or somebody that was worked for Alex Jones. Interviews Madeline Brown out at her house somewhere in Texas, East Texas, I think, and she's talking about the JFK assassination and how she was dating LBJ and this party that they had at Clint Murchison Sr.'s house about the day before Kennedy was killed, and how they were going to, they were talking about how they were going to kill him and blah, blah, blah. Of course, she sounds so believable. Her whole story is later pretty much debunked. I think she did know LBJ, maybe even dated him. So she sprinkles in a lot of truth with it. And she just sounds like old school Texas. I'm not asking for any money. But this is my story, and she sounds so believable. Problem was that Clint Murchison wasn't even living in Dallas at the time she said that happened. He was living out in East Texas, where he was when he passed away. Interesting story, of course. Clint Murchison Sr.'s aunt was my great grandfather's second wife, so I have that connection to Clint. People think UFOs are a joke, but the government has known since 47. Oh, sure, they knew at Roswell. Roswell happened. I always talk about my cousin's buddy that I got to meet, Sam Lucchese, who is the head of the production for that Unsolved Mysteries episode at Roswell, and he was in charge of the props. He was in charge of the interviews with the people that were still alive. And when Unsolved Mysteries did that episode, there was people that were still alive to talk to that had been around. I think Brazel might have still been alive. I saw recently where Mac Brazel's son has come out. And this is like go search Mac Brazel or Mac Brazel's son. I think he came out 2 or 3 days ago as of this and made a statement about what they did to Mac Brazel. Of course, he's the one that he was tending to the place where they found the remains of the Roswell crash and the bodies. And he didn't own the land. I think he was working that land as a ranch hand for whoever the owner was. But the military broke Matt Brazel. They just said, "Man, you didn't see anything, did you?" And they literally turned him into a broken man. But anyway, Sam was there, and he said he'd never believed in UFOs at all until he worked on that Unsolved Mysteries episode as a producer, and said everybody that I met and interviewed was telling the truth. They found something at Roswell, and it was not of this earthly origin. Oh, wow. I talk about Paddock. I bring him up before. Man, Paddock, no, I never did it, but I wanted to. I'm surprised that no one ever has done anything really on Stephen Paddock. Of course, he's the guy that shot the concert goers in Las Vegas from the Mandalay Bay window. I don't remember what floor he was on, but this guy was a creep. He had some money. He had owned an apartment complex or something in Texas. He sold it. He was a real avid video poker player, and he would go to the Vegas casinos, like the bigger, higher limit video poker machines, and he'd blow through like 10,000 a day, win, lose, whatever. But sometimes he'd have he's basically led into the high roller section for these higher video poker machines, but he amasses this arsenal of weapons and he manages to smuggle them into Mandalay Bay, where he shoots through the window at this country concert down there. People thought it was political because these are supposedly right wingers watching this concert, but I don't think any of that was true about his motivation. He had tried to rent another hotel room in another city, not Vegas. I don't remember where it was, but where it would have also had a vantage point over another concert. So this wasn't just all of a sudden thought about it and did it, but they wondered how he got the guns in there. You noticed how the hotel settled and it all just kind of went away. I think there's definitely some kind of MK Ultra going on here for sure. He had a girlfriend at the time. She was Filipino, but he also would use prostitutes, and he was told one of the prostitutes about now how 9/11 was an inside job, how all this conspiratorial type stuff. But I think Paddock was some kind of controlled deal. I really do. If there ever was a case of a MK Ultra deal, I think it was Stephen Paddock. I really do. I mean, the guy was a dirtbag, don't get me wrong, but why does he just decide to do this? And he wasn't a big gun guy, and he amasses this arsenal that he gets up into the hotel undetected. Is weird. And then you'll remember all those police conferences in Vegas where the police chief is standing next to one of the feds and he's sweating bullets. This guy, I mean, he's flanked by feds. He's like, and they're like, if you even say one word we don't like, you're going to get taken out back. I mean, you could see the stress on this man's face because he was being so controlled, not being able to speak his will. Like the feds told him every breath to take. I mean, it needs a video, Mark. It needs a video and it needs a book. That needs a book. I mean, Paddock was done to get people to rally support for gun control. Could have been. I mean, the only thing that it resulted in was they banned bump stocks. And then I think didn't the bump stocks just get reinstated to where the bump stocks aren't even illegal anymore? So it didn't hit its target at all, literally. I mean, hotel staff helped him move his luggage and guns into the room. Yeah, he had an arsenal. He literally had an arsenal. Yeah, I mean, there's something. I don't know what the end game was. I don't know if this was a gun control thing or not, but it didn't work if it was for gun control. Tried to hit the fuel tanks by the airport. Yeah, that's true. He was shooting at the fuel tanks. I remember that. And remember a guy did a video on YouTube not long after the shooting. I don't even remember what year it was 5 years ago or something, where he was doing a thing with the sound and it sounded like a second shooter was down there closer to where the concert was, maybe shooting from more of a ground level, as opposed to him shooting from the vantage point from the hotel. And I mean, it was pretty believable. And they put the kibosh on that. Field test for next generation drones, invisible drones. Could have been. I mean, the Paddock deal is weird. I didn't know about that either. I've been to Mandalay Bay. It's been years and years. Yeah, I'm sure it was. I wonder if it still tarnished. I know you're a MK Ultra guy, Plate C. What do you think? I think Paddock's an MK guy. I think they had Paddock on hit the button. Paddock was talking. Yeah, he was talking to Saudi billionaires shooting in the desert to sell the guns. His girlfriend set him up as a fall guy so the Saudis could hit Mohammed bin Salman in the penthouse of Mandalay. MK Ultra for sure. I figured, yeah, if there was ever an MK deal, it's Paddock, in my opinion. I mean, he was a strange guy, but he would have been the right guy. He wasn't a gun guy at all. I mean, people would remember talking to him, and he's a jerk. I mean, apparently he treated the girlfriend or whatever she was like crap. He's just a nasty, nasty guy. But he never was talking politics, right or left, to anybody. Like he said, even if you brought it up, he wouldn't really take the bait. Like, anything political, right wing or whatever, he wouldn't take it. Never talked about guns, and he was never known to have been a gun guy at all. But yet he amasses this arsenal. He knows how to shoot the AR with a bump stock, which just kind of simulates automatic firing. Of course, the gun's semi-automatic, so I've never used one, obviously, but the bump stock makes it where you can fire the recoil of it and the motion of the bump stock kind of simulates an automatic weapon. I wouldn't think it'd be very accurate. I guess it wouldn't have to be shooting into a full crowd of people. Yes, like the Manchurian candidate for sure. Doesn't add up at all. Mark agrees. MK Ultra, man. That's it for now. I think next week, probably be on Sunday, I'm gonna have my good friend Pat Bolin on, and we're gonna do a little DB Coopering, which will be fun. Looking forward to having her on. So I'm gonna start getting that plan. I'll probably be next Sunday. Should be at the same time. I'll see what's good for Pat. But thanks for tuning in. Everybody have a good week. I'll do a Bigfoot howl for the beginning of the week. Of course, Corky, and then I gotta remember to get the Corky slide up. Thanks for watching. Corky says, have a good night. Have a good beginning of your week. And everybody have a great 4th of July. If I don't go live before the 4th of July, everyone have a great 4th and stay safe.